In lesson 4.1, we briefly touched on the term use cases as they relate to functional requirements. In 4.2, we're going to look at that a little more in detail, how to create use cases to actually determine functional requirements for our business system. So, actions and interactions. If you define you can define functional requirements by the use of use cases. And what is a use case? A use case describes how an external factor interacts with a system to achieve a goal. So let's take a look at an example to help us visualize a use case. In this example, we have a buyer on the left and a seller on the right. And if you took a moment to kind of take a look at this without me explaining it, based on the diagram, you would probably be able to understand that this has to deal with an online auction site. So we have the buyer, the external factor that is interacting with the system. They're going to create an account. They will search listings for an item. They'll place a bid, and then hopefully they'll win that auction and purchase the item. Now they're interacting with the process of the seller. The seller is also creating an account. They are searching for listings for an item. You know, is there a viable place to post their product? They'll create an auction, and then once that auction has ended, hopefully someone has purchased the product and they'll be able to ship the item. So by looking at this use case of how these external factors, the buyer and the seller, interact with the system, our online auction site, then we were able to see what are the functional requirements and what are the non-functional requirements, the constraints. When we're creating an account, that has to be a secure process. When the item is purchased, it has to be a secure process. When the item ships, it has to be a consistent process. And you want to look at how, from a seller standpoint, the buyer's going to interact with the auction, and then you also have to look from a seller standpoint, the steps in the process that they're going to go through to actually post their product to become an auction. So use cases are an excellent tool for understanding the functional requirements of your system.